Mark the date on your calendar. Saturday, May 21st, 2022. It's the Southpaws 10th Anniversary Listener Appreciation Party. Join Jack Prince and I as we celebrate 10 years of Southpaws. We'll have a special musical performance by Rissa Jade. We'll have food and drinks available. We'll have a limited supply of Southpaws coffee cups available for sale. And we will be recording a brand new episode of Southpaws in front of a live audience. But this party is invitation only. You must be fully vaccinated and you must wear a mask inside the building. To request an invite to the party, email us at southpawsradio@gmail.com or call 616-723-6635. It's the Southpaws 10th Anniversary Listener Appreciation Party. Don't miss it. Be there.
For the hardest-hitting show in talk radio, the true progressive voice since 2012. This is Southpaws.
And welcome to Southpaws on the Pacifica Radio Network. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson. I'm your co-host.
My name is Jack Prince.
Yeah, Jack, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some things that have happened locally that have been covered by the national news. We have a police shooting out of Grand Rapids that happened last week, and we just saw the video on Wednesday. And we got to tell you, folks, it is horrific, absolutely horrific. Plus, we have to give you an update on the 4 men charged in the alleged plot to kidnap and kill Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. We have some abortion news to talk about. Plus, we've got a couple of off-the-cuff stories. So please stick around. We've got a packed show today. Right now, a reminder that you can follow us on social media by going to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Southpaws Radio. You can follow us on Tumblr at southpawsradioshow.tumblr.com. You can follow us on YouTube by doing a search for Southpaws Radio. And you can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio. You can listen to the show anytime at Spreaker, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, or Reason.fm by doing a search for Southpaws. And once you found our logo, you found us. We send links to our weekly episodes to our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube accounts. You can listen to us on Global Community Radio Channel 1 every Saturday night at 11 Eastern. And you can listen to us on great Pacifica stations, including KCEI in Taos, New Mexico, KZGM in Kabul, Missouri, and KEPJ in San Antonio, Texas. So be sure to listen to us on your local Pacifica station. And if your local Pacifica station is not carrying us, give them a call and ask them nicely to pick up our show. We would greatly appreciate it. And speaking of the show, our 10th Anniversary Listener Appreciation Party is coming up Saturday, May 21st. This is a private invite only. If you have not been invited and you want to come, please hit us up on our Facebook page, or you can call the offices of Big D Entertainment at 616-723-6635. We're going to have entertainment by Rissa Jade, who will be performing music off of her brand new album. We're going to have food and drinks available, and we're going to record a live episode of Southpaws in front of a studio audience for the first time ever. So be sure to check us out there. Again, that's on Saturday, May 21st. Again, we are requiring all attendees, you must be vaccinated. That's both shots and the booster. You must be boosted, and you must be able to prove it. So bring your vaccination cards, or you can send them to me at southpawsradio@gmail.com so that I can make sure that you can get in the building. We're also requiring attendees to wear masks. This is not optional. So just going to warn you ahead of time. This is the expectations. So please be safe and help keep our immunocompromised guests safe as well. It would be greatly appreciated. And one other quick thing before we get into our stories for today. The April episode of Period End of Story will be coming out on April 15th. Going to be having a very special conversation with a dear friend of mine. Katie Jaramillo is a licensed professional counselor based in Grand Rapids. We're going to be discussing a new study from the University of California, San Francisco that was recently published in the Journal of Adolescent Health that showed that 48% of young adults age 18 to 25 reported mental health symptoms during the COVID pandemic, yet over a third of those young people were unable to seek mental health care. So we will discuss that in depth. So it's a great conversation. Please check it out on your local Pacifica station, and you can find Period End of Story on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and Stitcher. So please check it out there. All right, Jack. I really don't have words. That it's disgusting. It's a tragedy. It's absolutely horrible. What we're talking about is an incident that happened on April 4th in the morning in Grand Rapids, where a Grand Rapids police officer who has not been identified by the police pulled over a car. I believe he was 26 years old, wasn't he? Patrick Leoya. He was the driver of the car. And the car was pulled over because the plates did not match the title on the car. So he was pulled over, and Patrick Leoya, again, 26, I believe, originally came to the United States from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So there's a language barrier. And the officer asked him for his driver's license. First, he got out of the car. The officer told him to get back in his car, and I don't think he really understood what was happening. The officer asked him for his driver's license. There was a passenger in the car. He opened the driver's door and asked the passenger to grab his driver's license. And I don't know, because you can't really hear the audio very well on the body cam. But for whatever reason, the passenger did not give the license over to Leola. And so Leola was going around to the passenger side, and the cop stopped him, and that's when everything went downhill from there. Physical struggle started. The officer told him stop resisting, and next thing you knew, the officer deployed a taser, which went off twice, by the way. Leoya had his hand on the taser, but he did not have control of the taser. It looked like he was trying to block the taser from shooting him, I guess.
And why the hell wouldn't you?
Exactly. And so the officer starts struggling with him. From the dash cam inside the patrol car, he pulls him out of the view. Now, whether or not that was intentional, you can make up your own mind, because the video is out there now. Pulled him out of view of the dash cam. The body cam supposedly fell off the officer.
Supposedly.
Luckily, the passenger, I believe, got out of the car and started filming with his cell phone camera, which they also have video of. There's also a Ring doorbell camera from a house across the street, and that was shown as well. So they showed 4 different views of what happened. And so the officer gets Leoya down on the ground, has him on his stomach. Supposedly he still has his hand on the taser, trying to block the officer from discharging it again. And you see the officer, again, mounted on top of a guy laying on his stomach, reaches back, grabs his service weapon, and within 10 seconds puts it to the back of his head, pulls the trigger, and kills him instantly. And
you see, it's really, with all of that expert description, Darren, it really is boiled down to another murder by a white cop. And the details are hauntingly similar. The hollering just 5 seconds before he put a bullet through the back of this man's head in a prone position, get your hands off the taser, or
let go of the taser.
Let go of the taser. Hauntingly similar to what happened in Minnesota with a woman, the policeman there, indicating something about the taser, and then the man is dead. I think what people have to ask themselves is, how many established, bright, and worn-out cliches have we heard in the midst of these murders? We just talked about one, and that's the supposed stress over a taser being used. Another one is that the man was fleeing. The man was fleeing.
Can you blame him?
There's some unwritten justification. You know, when he took off, there on the video I saw it where the policeman said, "Stop," and he's going to leave. You indicated there had to be confusion. His face indicated that because of the language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
One of the cliches, unwritten law, is you have to shoot somebody if they're fleeing. The man has done nothing. In the policeman's surveillance, he has done nothing illegal.
Mm-hmm.
There is not a law that says if somebody flees a policeman, that they have the right to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go through this episode and look at the response that's already being crafted by the establishment, and you'll see worn out, overused, long time used cliches and justifications for what clearly, without any dispute, is a murder. A man completely out of physical threat. There was no visible threat to that officer's life. None whatsoever. And to go through this, not just the cliches, but the time period. You stall with the video to be released. Then you've got an autopsy that takes 60 days. Then Becker, the prosecuting attorney here in Kent County, has already said that he will not make any decisions for prosecution until after the Michigan State Police conclude their investigation. So the Michigan State Police, they can drag their feet forever. They're a third party now. They're out of the view of the public here in Grand Rapids. They can take 45 days. They can take 60 days. In the meantime, you're going to have 3 other murders, and the news will slowly, like sand, sift in on this story. They've got it down to a science. The man is paid. He's being paid right now while he relaxes. In many ways, the right is already supporting him. Mm-hmm. They will have money raised. He will be a celebrity in their eyes, just like the murderer in Minnesota was a celebrity. Remains a celebrity. Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Seeing this story, and we're unable to change its plot, Darren.
Yeah, and like you said, this is the playbook that's used by pretty much every other police department out there. Now, we had mentioned last week, real quickly, we talked about this a little bit last week. We're going into full depth on it today because of the video being released. And like I said, I saw the video, I saw the press conference yesterday, and it was just utterly disgusting what happened. And have you seen the video in its entirety, Jack?
Yeah, I have. I have also seen on that. It was shown on CNN this morning and the local Channel 8.
Yeah.
And you'll see the dialogue from the chief of police who monitored, from what I understand, went through frame by frame with an explanation of what took place. It's sickening. And then I was at the protest. I saw the protest downtown yesterday.
Yeah, there was a pretty good-sized protest. How many people do you believe were there?
I'm going to say between 200 and 300.
Mm-hmm.
A little smaller crowd than the day before. But I have to say, as impressive as that crowd was, okay, and as animated as they were, some of the speakers pointed out, we're a block away from the black community here in Grand Rapids. Where the hell are the hundreds and thousands of people? Where are they at? And I got to tell you, I think it's because of the watered-down reaction of the unified black ministers in Grand Rapids who pleaded for no violence. I did not hear, I may be mistaken, them ever say protest. I did not hear the ministers say, they said, we want to have no violence. We want to show the world that Grand Rapids is a classy city. Classy city. Are you kidding me? You're a black minister. You should be saying Grand Rapids is the epitome of the most controlled black population in the United States, under the jurisdiction of the billionaire named DeVos.
Yeah.
Have a feeder system of ministers that do the running for the establishment here. And that's why you did not see the same size crowd, now think about this, as you saw in Minnesota, who didn't rest. They didn't take a break.
No,
If you compare the reactions, and I don't really see much difference in the severity between these two murders. Do you, Darren?
No.
One in Floyd, of course, had words exchanged. It was terrible. But if you look at, like you said, your reaction from that video was one of disgust.
Yeah. And, of course, in the day or two prior to the release of the video, the city erected a big barrier around the Grand Rapids Police Department with chicken wire fence and the whole 9 yards.
Well, plus they had 10 huge snow city trucks, downtown.
Oh, just like they did after George Floyd.
You said playbook. They may have a manual. What to do when one of our cops murders somebody in broad daylight and it's caught on film.
Yep.
A manual. Bring in the trucks, you bring in the barricades, you say this, you do that, you delay, you stall, A, B, C, D. I'm not exaggerating.
Yep. Jack,
I have no proof of that, but it sure seems that way.
Well, I'm going to also ask you about this because you weren't the only one that brought this up. Another one of our listeners brought this up to me. What do you think about them releasing the video on a day where we were expecting severe thunderstorms?
No accident. Chapter 2. Time your responses with weather, with other news breaking stories for the sake of deflection. Control the crowd, make announcements that are the least bit caustic, make those announcements in weather patterns, storms, and it was predicted that there were going to be severe storms at 3 o'clock, exactly when they showed the video. So, yeah, that's no accident.
Yeah.
I'm saying, how much practice do they have? They have all the police departments across the United States. They've gone through this dozens and dozens of times. Mm-hmm. They got it down automatically.
Yep. And this was something that the news media locally mentioned. This is a new police chief. He hasn't even been on the job one entire month. And we've already had a fatal police shooting of an unarmed black person. Mm-hmm. And his comment to the media yesterday when asked if the public asked him to resign was pretty much, no, I'm staying until the city tells me to go. So
yeah, that's tough talk. Yeah, that's, we have a dead body of a 26-year-old on the ground, and the political powers and the obfuscation of the police department is worrying. And many of the people yesterday remonstrated how many times we were here for, what's the street name there of the woman the protest was actually on?
Oh, Breonna Taylor Way?
Yeah. Then you had the Floyd, and how many times do we get in the street? You were there when 5,000 people were protesting in Grand Rapids with the Floyd murder.
Yeah.
And we're tired. We're disgusted. We're saturated.
Yeah. And
of watching this and not seeing any decline in its horror. Yesterday was as horrific as the one in Minnesota.
Yeah. And also, just to kind of throw this in as well, on Tuesday, when they announced that the video was going to be released on Wednesday, the news also had a story about a defendant who was found guilty for his role in the riot in Grand Rapids in 2020 after George Floyd was murdered.
That's the news timing I'm talking about.
So
wedge it in.
Yep.
Yeah, wedge it in between a story that would be conducive. Plus, I've seen some of the right-wing idiots talking about, you got this shooting. What about the black guy in Manhattan that shot everybody up? What about that?
Yeah.
So they had a lot of barriers, a lot of protective barriers with news stories, coupled with the weather, plus the Michigan State report, plus the delay in the release of the video. It takes a toll. It takes a toll on the impact of the story, which, I've got to say, Grand Rapids has hit the big time, right?
Yeah.
It was covered in CNN.
Covered on the Today Show. Yep.
Yep. We knew it was coming. Here it is.
Yeah, well, there's more reasons that Grand Rapids has been in the news lately, and we might as well get into our next story. By the way, we're going to keep our eye on what happens with the investigation into the shooting of Patrick Lyoya. So stay tuned to future episodes of this show. But I want to get to our next story here, also out of Grand Rapids. This is Ken Kolker reporting for Wood Television. A federal jury Friday found 2 suspects not guilty in an alleged plot to kidnap and kill Governor Gretchen Whitmer. 2 other suspects, the jury could not reach a verdict on them. So, hung jury on 2 of the defendants, not guilty on the other 2. So, here's the details of it. 33-year-old Brandon Caserta of Canton and 34-year-old Daniel Harris of Lake Orion were acquitted on all counts. The jury cannot reach a unanimous decision in the cases of 46-year-old Barry Croft Jr. of Bear, Delaware, and 38-year-old Adam Fox of Metro Grand Rapids. U.S. Attorney Andrew Burge said, quote, "Obviously we're disappointed at the outcome. Thought we'd get the jury to convict beyond a reasonable doubt." End of quote. Mistrial was declared for Croft and Fox. Attorney Burge said that he will try the 2 men again, adding, quote, "I appreciate the time the jury put into this. They listened to a lot of evidence, deliberated quite a bit. We have 2 defendants awaiting trial. We will get back to work on that." End of quote. There is no timeline yet on when the second trial could happen. Fox's attorney Christopher Gibbons told reporters outside the courthouse, quote, "I think that the trial here has demonstrated that there's some serious shortcomings in the government's case. Obviously, with acquittals occurring with Mr. Caserta and Mr. Harris says a lot about what's going on in the case and the proofs." End of quote. Caserta and Harris were free to go. That is according to U.S. District Court Judge Robert Yonker. As the verdicts were being read, the family of Caserta gasped and embraced. Shortly after, when Harris's verdict was released, his family, including his father and mother, gasped. Some of them were in tears. Outside the courthouse Friday afternoon, Caserta's attorney said his client was, quote, "outgone." Caserta's attorney, Mike Hills, added, quote, "He's just enjoying a walk down a sidewalk right now." End of quote. He added that it was Caserta's birthday, saying, quote, "best birthday present imaginable." End of quote. One of Caserta's relatives said, quote, "I'm just glad he's home." End of quote. Fox's attorney said that Fox was disappointed that he would remain behind bars pending a second trial. Attorney Gibbons said, quote, "We'll eventually get what we want out of this, which is the truth and the justice I think Adam is entitled to." End of quote. So now it's okay.
How about the justice of the people of Michigan that saw their governor's life threatened? This is a travesty that equals what took place yesterday or the other day on the sidewalk in Grand Rapids with the murder of a black man.
Yeah, and I'm going to read this. This is a statement from Joanne Hulls, Chief of Staff for Governor Gretchen Whitmer. It reads this way, quote, "Today, Michiganders and Americans, especially our children, are living through the normalization of political violence. The plot to kidnap and kill a governor may seem like an anomaly, but we must be honest about what it really is. The result of violent, divisive rhetoric that is all too common across our country. There must be accountability and consequences for those who commit heinous crimes. Without accountability, extremists will be emboldened. The governor remains focused on her work on behalf of Michigan and all Michiganders. That includes addressing violence and threats to our democracy. We appreciate the prosecutors and law enforcement officers for their work on this case." End of quote. And I'm just going to stop right there. Let me just spell it out for you. The result of violent, divisive rhetoric, and it's coming from one side. It's not both sides doing it. It is evil, violent, conservative savages that are spreading violence. Period.
Southpaws moniker for these animals.
Yep. And that's what they are. They're rabid. It's scary. And
no question. And the thing that sticks out in that one person's description of this miscarriage of justice was the emboldenment of more of these yo-yos. All the guys and conservative rednecks across Michigan that have that little banner or that little sign out in front of their house that says, "My governor is an idiot." You've seen those signs.
Oh, I've seen those. I've seen worse.
I have too.
Biden, F. Whitmer. it's just ridiculous.
Well, the most famous is right straight west of here on Leonard Street. A farmer has a manure spreader filled with manure with a sign out that says, Whitmer happens. I'm sure you've seen that, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, yeah. It's go straight toward Spring Lake. It's been there for a couple of years, for a year at least.
Jeez.
It's a little town. Is it Fremont? Not Fremont.
No, it's not Fremont.
A little historical town on the bluffs of the Grand River, 10 miles west of where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah.
And that's where this famous manure spreader that the conservatives get together and all clap with glee. Yeah, I've seen it pictured. But, you have no trouble finding conservative signs out in front of homes indicating stupidity. This, though, is a case where the public, many people, kind of in the middle, scratch their head and go, maybe there was no plot. Maybe these guys are innocent.
Oh, they keep saying, we were set up by the FBI. Not a chance.
If the FBI set you up to murder somebody, which is what they vowed, to take her out and set her in Lake Michigan on the ice, I don't know, some form of capital punishment.
Yeah.
If the FBI set you up and you commit murder, are you still a murderer?
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Let me continue the story here. Again, this is Ken Kolker at Wood Television. The jury of 6 men and 6 women deliberated in a federal court in downtown Grand Rapids for 37 hours over the course of a week. Last Friday morning, after being told that the jury had reached some decisions and was locked on others, the judge asked the jury to keep deliberating. He provided members some thought exercises about how to reach some insight on the issues that divide them. He said they could not change their minds simply to reach a decision. The jury remained in the same spot Friday afternoon. District Judge Yonker told jurors to go back, confirm where they stood, and decide whether there was a path forward. If they remained in the same place and there was no path forward, he said that they should announce their unanimous verdicts and indicate on which counts they were deadlocked. They came back with their verdicts in only a few minutes. It was a loss for the FBI, which had been accused by defense attorneys of working behind the scenes with undercover agents and paid informants to orchestrate the plot and entrap the men. Now, let me add, there's 2 guys that were originally charged. They took guilty pleas in exchange for leniency at sentencing, and they both said, no, we weren't set up by the FBI. This was all the conspirators doing. So I don't know why the jury didn't believe Ty Garbin and Caleb Franks. They were the 2 men who pleaded guilty to conspiracy to kidnap.
I don't know either, but the jury sat here in Grand Rapids. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah.
The same jury in Wayne County would have found guilty.
Yep.
I'm going to go on a limb and say that.
Yep.
Grand Rapids is a court that was found guilty of going and withdrawing white conservatives out of the Rockford area exclusively. Somebody did a search. I think it was a former football player. This is a story a long time ago, Darren. He found an overwhelming number of Rockford residents that would sit, 80, 90% of the jury over and over and over again were from Rockford. Mm-hmm. Locale means a whole hell of a lot.
Yeah, and they blamed it on a computer error. Well, I don't believe that either.
A computer error that lasted for months and months. Yeah, okay.
For years.
Yeah, for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that story when it happened. That was several years ago. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So it looks like, in short, the 2 men that the jury were deadlocked on, they're going to be retried in federal court. I am asking, in fact, begging, Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel to file state charges against these violent people, because it can be done. It's not double jeopardy. These were federal charges that the 2 men were acquitted on, not state charges. State charges can still be brought against them, and it needs to happen. A clear message needs to be sent that you cannot go around with other people plotting to kidnap the governor of the state of Michigan and stick around in a boat in the middle of Lake Michigan or to take her to Wisconsin, hold a kangaroo court, and execute her. You can't do it.
We know she's a woman of integrity with a backbone. A friend of the show, appeared on our show.
Yes.
And this is kind of coming out of thin air, but I saw a story where she is prosecuting a policeman who stopped a paper route team twice, pulled a gun on him.
Jeez.
And the department said, well, he's learned his lesson. He's had time to think it through, a month paid, had time to think it through. So he's going to be reinstated.
Jeez.
And the prosecuting attorney for the state of Michigan said no, and she's bringing charges. She's got that kind of backbone, and this is the time to use it.
Yep.
We both Darren and I urge her to move ahead with that action.
Yes, absolutely. A clear message needs to be sent to these violent conservatives that you can't get away with this. What's going to be next? Are they going to kidnap a judge? Are they going to plot to do that? I mean, really, where does it end?
The savages were there yesterday. There was a truck, looked like a paddy wagon, axle truck,
Yeah.
with a pen in the back, Constitution Party. And if you don't know who they are, look it up. Religious right-wing group of candy nuts. And there they are in front of the city building with their truck at 4 o'clock yesterday. A couple of them get out of the front of the truck, and they're strapped. They got the 6-shooter down on their thigh, walking around. They were there yesterday. They were snooping around, seeing anywhere where they might fit in and cause a problem. Mm-hmm. And you just said it. They have to be taught that we're a nation of laws that does not condone or allow violence in any way.
Exactly. Oh, so those nuts were down there yesterday, huh?
They sure the hell were.
Here's my thoughts on them. Yep, they're all cuckoo. All of them. Cuckoos. That's what I call them. They're cuckoos, because that's what they are.
A global world leader in Russia who's demonstrating the demonstration of violence, unwarranted violence and murder of children right in front of the face of the world.
Yeah.
To get what he thinks is an empire country, to restore his empire for Russia. And there needs to be an absolute statement to these right-wing idiots, including his buddy, Donald J., that you're not going to bully, you're not going to commit violence, you're not going to shoot and murder innocent people, whether it's in the streets of Grand Rapids or Ukraine or wherever. We're done. We're tired. We're tired of it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Ukraine. A little bit of good news this morning. Ukraine says that they launched a missile at a Russian ship and that it's sinking.
Yeah, I saw that.
Man, I'm telling you, Putin, first off, his advisors are reportedly lying to him about how well things are going in Ukraine.
Right.
But even then, they're pouring the gas on by having convoys full of tanks and military vehicles and whatever going into certain areas of the country, and I don't get why NATO isn't helping out more.
I would say the same.
And then
I would say the absolute same.
And then there was a story earlier this week on NBC News that the U.S. military, actually one of the, he's a commander at the Pentagon, is making the allegation that Russia is somehow jamming GPS signals in Ukraine and along the border between Russia and Finland, because Finland is looking like they're getting ready to join NATO.
Yeah. They had a unified meeting yesterday, all of Estonia, Finland, all those countries, previous under Russian control, are designed to reach NATO. That's all positive. Mm-hmm. You think about this, for the younger crowd out there, I was raised, my limited exposure to history in high school and in college, in that Western civilization was based on a treaty called NATO, that after a hard, laborious, brutal war, the defense of the West relied upon this invisible shield called NATO. The unification of countries in Europe and Eastern Europe, as well as Western Europe, to protect us from the bear, I don't know. I've talked to people and go, what's NATO? I'm serious. They have no idea what the hell it is or what it means.
Yeah.
And so when Russia strikes against NATO, that's an old school guy, almost as old as us, Darren, that's trying to break that historic barrier, that protective wall. And people don't get it. They don't get it. They go, well, they got missiles there in Ukraine, and they're Nazis, and Zelensky's a billionaire, and that's what happens in the West. The leaders are all billionaires, and they're rotten. And so they're tepid. They're tepid in their response. The Americans should be up in arms. You should have them protesting with the same people downtown, saying we need to defend the Ukraine. That's us. That's our farthest out barrier of protection, and we cannot let them fall. But everybody's just kind of sitting wondering, can they do it with their staunch heroism? I mean, these people are fighting against insurmountable odds. Can they pull it off? Can they, with the bravery of a single man, Zelensky, a little comedian, can they pull this off? Instead of saying, that's our fight. That, you mentioned NATO doing things. That's Western Europe's fight. And you don't hope they win. You make damn sure they win. Whatever it takes.
Absolutely. And I mentioned to you off air when we talked on Wednesday about a post that was made on a local progressive Facebook page where they were saying, oh, Zelensky got a big payday for the latest video or whatever. Sorry, that's not a progressive view. You can call yourself progressive, but that's not a progressive view.
No, it's not.
And
no.
We might as well mention one of my old broadcast friends, Jimmy Dore, who started ripping on Biden in the last couple of weeks because Biden made a comment about Putin doesn't need to be in power anymore or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And so Jimmy Dore got on his show and says, right there's proof that Biden wants regime change in Russia. We should be against it, blah, 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 blah. You know what, Jimmy? You're a friend of mine. I've had you on my show. You've fallen off the deep end there, buddy. Because let me just tell you, and I'm going to spell it out real specifically here. There are some countries that need regime change, and the first one that needs it really bad is this country right here, because the rich oligarchs run everything. That's why I get on the air just about every week and I say, eat the rich. I don't mean that figuratively. I mean that literally. This is the problem. We have rich oligarchs in charge of everything. That's why inflation is up. That's why the price of your groceries are up. That's why the price of your gasoline is up. Don't blame Biden. Don't blame Putin. Blame greedy, rich people, because it's right on their doorstep. And if you can't see that, then you need to get your head examined.
I have a lot of amazement at the left. And don't forget, the show called Southpaws had a definition day, I don't know how many months ago now, and we compared the definitions of a liberal with progressive.
Yes.
And to a liberal, that what you're saying, they first of all don't even have a problem with oligarchs. Half of them are oligarchs. But for the progressive to have anybody bothered by the statement that you need a regime change, or the man who's openly murdering people, 25,000 alone in Mariupol, okay, we have to understand the heartfelt and important impact of an honest statement coming from Biden is exactly what the hell we need. We need more of them. Where were those kinds of comments when we tried to impeach, or when they did impeach Trump the first time? They had some juicy, unbelievable exposures of that man's character that should have been elucidated, promulgated, highlighted, focused, on the sides of billboards. Those statements, people, that's what gets to the American conscience in this country. The liberals throw all kinds of complicated intellectual formulas and theories to try and prove a point. People don't hear that. There's a billboard on 131 here in Grand Rapids. The Democratic Party should scrape together some of its billionaires' money and put a sign out there that says, I think Putin is a genius.
Yep.
Donald J. Trump quoted, and the date underlined in big black letters. People that get that will get that kind of simple comment stretch of the truth that Biden broke out of it. What is it, Darren? What is it the conservatives say they really respect in Trump? Oh, he doesn't care about the establishment. He shoots from the hip. He says what he means. It's not always proper. It's not politically correct. That's why we like the guy. Biden says a statement that the whole damn world knows is true, and they dare take him to task. Incredible.
Yeah. I have the post up. This group shared a post from Caroline Davidson. Here's what she wrote on Facebook. Zelensky is being extremely well paid for his current acting role. And boy, did they get pushed back on that page. One person wrote, huh? Another one wrote, yeah, what the person above me said. Another one responded, Republican propaganda? Here's another one. He is number one on Putin's assassination list. This is uncalled for. He is a much better leader than MF-45. Another comment. Shame on this page for even letting this post stay here. Another response. Stupid comment. You know what? F*** it. I'm going to tell the page. Grand Rapids United Progressives. So
shouldn't let it fly.
They shouldn't let it fly. Michelle, take that stupid f***ing post down now.
Do they see it as a stupid f***ing post?
No, they don't.
To me.
They don't. That's the thing about it. This is not a progressive stand. It isn't. If you think it is, you're not a progressive. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Alarming.
It is.
It's stupidity. The things that just knock me out of my chair. I'm not claiming to be some high intellectual in any way, Darren. I see an ad from Corey Johnson running for governor, Republican from Detroit. Mm-hmm. He goes, do you realize that the price of high gas, that's all from Biden?
You're talking about Perry Johnson. You know what we're going to do next week? I'm going to get audio of that. We're going to start picking apart his TV ads.
It doesn't take much to pick it apart.
Yeah.
So I called his campaign office. I said, I just have one question. If you can answer this intelligently, I'll vote for your candidate. I'm not kidding you, Darren.
Yeah.
I said, is the high price of gas in Canada Biden's fault? Is the high price of gas in Mexico? Is the high price of gas in Europe, all of Europe?
Yeah.
Is the high price in these other countries, is that Biden's fault?
Yeah.
They answer. They wouldn't answer.
Yeah.
I said, okay, you just lost the vote. Not that I'd vote for him anyway, but you get my point.
Because they know that what they're saying on their TV ads is exactly this. It's bull.
It's bull. And there's one thing they can depend upon. That's the abject stupidity of Republican voters.
Yep.
You put some simple meme out. Like I said, that's why you need a simple meme like Trump's quote about Biden, about Putin,
Yeah.
They know that you put little stickers on the gas pumps and you blame millions of people every day that hurt. Oh, man, 415, all this hurts. Oh, and there's Biden's face, that son of a pup. They know how simple it is. It's absolutely illogical. It's stupid. You can't use any comparative logic with it, but put it out there. Put it out there. Honey, the gas price is Biden's fault. Oh, my God. When you're stupid, it doesn't take much to make you act.
Yeah.
There's no contemplation. There's no critical thinking.
And I tell you what, for anybody out there that goes to the gas pumps and they see a little sticker with Biden's face on it pointing and says, I did that, here's your two options. Number one, peel it off. Number two, get a Putin sticker and put right over the top of it.
Right.
You know?
But see, Johnson knows we need the simplest, most stupid lie to get votes. It'll work.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Blame the gas on Biden, and then come out and say,
and
if
Whitmer.
I'm elected, I won't close any schools. By golly, I won't do it.
Oh, I won't enforce any mask mandates on the kids. They need to learn. Yeah, what they need to learn is that you're nothing but a corporate oligarch, another violent, evil, conservative savage.
You just lost 99% of them when you said oligarch.
Yeah.
They have no idea what an oligarch is.
I'll tell you what it is. It's a rich person that wants you to work yourself to death to put money in their pocket, not yours. And then when you can't work anymore, they want you to die and die quickly. That's why they keep insurance away from you, health insurance. That's why they're against single-payer universal health care.
I'll never forget protesting against Snyder down in Benton Harbor, Michigan. And we had a chant. Chant was, "Hey, Rick, how do you spell oligarch?" And a policeman came up to me, and he was being candid. He said, "What is an oligarch?" Oh, I swear to God.
I would have said, that's who you're working for.
Yeah.
Because it's the truth.
That's who you protect.
Yeah.
That's who you serve.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So would not be an extreme example. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I got to get off of this. One final comment. If you haven't seen what Perry Johnson looks like, just get a photo of him. He looks like an alien with a bad haircut. He does. He looks like he's from outer space.
I know it. I know.
Oh, God.
It's the most simplest Republican pablum I've ever seen.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we got to get to our next story here. This is a two-parter here. The first one is Mary Poppenfuss writing for Huffington Post. This is dated April 9th. You've heard about this case. A 26-year-old Texas woman was released from jail Saturday after she was arrested and charged with murder for what authorities called a self-induced abortion. Her name is Lizelle Herrera. She was arrested Thursday night. She was held in jail for 2 nights after officials, according to a spokesperson for the Starr County Sheriff's Office, she, quote, intentionally and knowingly caused the death of an individual by self-induced abortion, end of quote. So here's the second part of this. On Sunday, the day after she was released from jail, Starr County District Attorney Gocha Allen Ramirez told Texas Public Radio that he filed a motion to dismiss the murder charge against Herrera. Ramirez said the instance was not a criminal offense under state law. And so here's the thing. She had to pay $500,000 bail and retain legal counsel. So I don't know if she's going to get any of that money back. You know what I'd do? I'd sue the state for improper imprisonment. Because it is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Rocky Gonzalez, the founder and board chair of Frontera, called the arrest inhumane.
Yeah?
Here's what Gonzalez said Friday. Quote, criminalizing pregnant people's choices or pregnancy outcomes, which the state of Texas has done, takes away people's autonomy over their own bodies and leaves them with no safe options when they choose not to become a parent, end of quote. University of Texas law professor Stephen Vladeck told the Associated Press that Texas law exempts Herrera from a homicide charge for aborting her own pregnancy, so it's difficult to understand how she could be charged with murder for a self-induced abortion. Vladeck added that homicide, quote, doesn't apply to the murder of an unborn child if the conduct charged is conduct committed by the mother of the unborn child, end of quote. So, yeah, the district attorney finally got some sense where the grand jury didn't have any sense and released her and dropped all charges.
But we were talking about a state that has a penalty of $500,000 for aiding in an abortion and 10 years in jail.
Yep.
It's written on the books.
Yep.
It is the land that gave us slavery, the greatest example of, I should tell, slavery in the universe. And Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, and it's never really increased its thinking capacity. To me, it's like the horror movies of, I said this before the show, of zombies that just walk around. You know, you when you watch a zombie movie and you see them blown up, you don't have any feeling for them, right?
Yeah.
They don't have the ability to think. They're just out being led walking in unison to devour you, to eat you.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm concerned, across that Mason-Dixon line, it's zombie land. It truly is. A guy named John Brown, hey, he had it figured out.
Yeah.
Had it figured out how many 100 years ago now? Civil War?
Yeah, a couple hundred years now.
You can't talk to him. You can't debate him. You can't move them politically, and we haven't moved them politically.
No,
we haven't convinced them with any human reasoning since the Civil War. Haven't done it.
No.
They questioned his tactics. He'd go in, find the head of the plantation, and hang them, or cut their heads off. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And he thought, that's a little extreme, isn't it? He said, you think that's extreme? Do you think it's extreme if somebody came and took your daughter and made her into a slave and then raped her whenever she wanted to? Which our own presidents did here in the United States. Yeah. You think that's extreme? Would you react violently? Are you kidding me? What he did was appropriate. And if you go back, and by the way, political theorists say he's responsible for starting the Civil War. Well, right now you have state after state passing these laws, and they're zombies. The people are beyond reason. Absolutely gone. No tactic is too extreme to try and save our freedoms, our freedom of choice, whether it's a woman's body, whether it's a choice in regards to military. Are you going to allow the brutality that the military is imposing on women to this day? The incidence of rape is off the books, off the charts, but they're military, so you can't touch it. I can go on and on and on. I see it as never before, Darren, and it's in mid-70s, an old man that hadn't got many more years left. I see it as almost irreversible. You and I both have said many times, what can you do with them? Can you coerce them? Can you send them the right bit of historical information? Can't do it.
No.
You cannot do it.
They want to remain willfully ignorant.
They're so ignorant they can't change, right? I mean...
Yeah. This is willful ignorance.
I think it's a book of mental conditions. You go through Green, you go through some of these Republican senators, you start with Trump. We're talking about a cornucopia of mental conditions in places of power.
Yeah. I want to read this quote again. This is from the Starr County District Attorney Gosha Allen Ramirez. This was reported by KXAN Television. He said, quote, in reviewing this case, it is clear that the Starr County Sheriff's Department did their duty in investigating the incident brought to their attention by the reporting hospital. Let me stop there. Why is the hospital violating this woman's rights under HIPAA? I think there's a lawsuit there. She needs to sue that hospital for $100 million and bankrupt them. Own the hospital. Then you sue the county for wrongful imprisonment and prosecution. Start dropping lawsuits. When they have to start coughing up money, they'll start behaving. And if they don't, you get them out of office and replace them with people that have sense.
Yeah, I'm an old football coach. You know, a lot of coaches said the best way to conduct an offense is with simplicity. Keep it simple, stupid. KISS, K-I-S-S.
Yep.
And we get way too complicated. Just start a lawsuit here, put bulletin boards or, billboards on the highways that point out. Donald Trump once said that in the Civil War, the North had a better Air Force than the South.
Yeah. Hey,
Put it
Jack,
out there.
Jack, I want to get to this story real quick here because we are getting short on time. Spain's got it figured out. This is from the Associated Press dated April 9th. It was reported by Voice of America out of Madrid. Spain is awaiting the publication in coming days of a new law banning the intimidation or harassment of women entering abortion clinics. This was passed by the Spanish Senate Wednesday by a vote of 154 to 105. It changes the penal code in Spain. By the way, if you go to Spain, abortions are available for free in the public health system through the 14th week of pregnancy. And this is exactly what needs to happen in this country.
You're talking civilized action there, Dan.
Yeah.
I don't fly here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to have some civilization, I swear to God.
Yeah, that's why it's called progress.
Yeah.
We came out of the cave, and slowly we thought we became more civilized and progressed in civilization. Not the Republican.
Yeah.
Go back to the cave. No, seriously.
And not these people. I got to wrap it up, Jack. I've got two off-the-cuff stories that we got to get to. This first one comes from Athena Morris, writing for Nexstar Media Wire. This is WFLA Television out of Tampa, Florida. A Florida woman was arrested for domestic battery after she allegedly scratched her girlfriend in the face with the couple's cat. Police say that things escalated after 53-year-old Susan Freudenthal and her girlfriend got into an argument at a home in Largo. According to the police report, Freudenthal took their cat, held it up to the girlfriend's face, and swore on the animal's life that she was not cheating. The animal was in distress, obviously, from being picked up and hearing this argument, and scratched the girlfriend in the face, leaving multiple lacerations on her face. The police were called. Freudenthal was arrested for domestic battery. She was released on her own recognizance. By the way, this is her second arrest for domestic battery since March of 2021. So there you go, assault by feline.
Yeah. Two animals, one holding the other animal.
Yeah. And our final off-the-cuff story this week, you better hide the children, folks. This is David Moy writing for the Huffington Post, dated April 4th. A Southwest Airlines flight from Seattle to Phoenix turned into a touchy situation after one of the passengers reportedly pulled down his pants and masturbated at least 4 times in front of a female passenger during the 3-hour flight. I keep thinking of the Gilligan's Island song, 3-hour tour, a 3-hour tour.
Wait a minute, 4 times in 3-hour flight?
Yeah.
That'd be a record right there.
Yeah. Antonio Sharon McGarity was arrested in Phoenix when Southwest Flight 3814 landed at Sky Harbor International Airport. According to an arrest document obtained by the Daily Beast, McGarity admitted the public masturbation and said that he didn't do anything wrong. He added that he thought the whole incident was kind of kinky, according to the arrest document.
America.
Yeah. Shortly after the plane took off, McGarity allegedly exposed his penis by pulling down his pants and shorts and began masturbating. Again, this is according to the police document. The woman seated
all
next...
All you got to do is add that to, how the hostess say, please return your overhead trays and zip your pants up. We have arrived.
Oh, God. Oh, God. The woman seated next to McGarity reacted by taking pictures of him engaged in the act. After he fell asleep, the passenger told a crew member about her experience, and she was allowed to move to another seat. The woman later, here's the gross part, folks. The woman later told Phoenix police that she saw the man masturbate 4 times using both hands. She also suspected that he reached orgasm at least once since she saw him licking a white substance from his fingers.
Oh, my God. Oh, do we have to even hear it? But,
yeah.
Hey, fly the friendly skies.
He allegedly admitted to his acts to the FBI. He said that the woman who reported it, he asked her if she minded him doing it. The woman simply put her hands in the air and said it really didn't matter. He faces charges for lewd, indecent, or obscene acts on an aircraft, and Southwest has put him on the no-fly list. So he is banned for life from Southwest Airlines. Oh, well...
we needed that, I guess.
Yes, we did. Jack, we are out of time for this week. We'll be back next week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Jack Prince.
Please support independent media and the First Amendment.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.